Is that the last? Yes. So now that I've read volumes 1 and 2 of The Strange Death of Alex Raymond, plus the mock-ups of volume 3, and Carson's attempt at an ending, my question is, how much of the glamourpuss SDOAR narrative still, quote, counts, unquote? Like, there's 2 pages from issue 7 that I believe tie into the bits of SDOAR that this guy ruined. Yes, the Charlie Brown Dave Sim. Go ahead.
I just call him Charlie Sim.
Charlie Sim. There you go. Okay. So how much of glamourpuss still, quote, counts, unquote? Also, I started giving away PDFs of glamourpuss to anybody who wants them. I just tell them, if you want to swing by servicedownloads.com and donate what they're worth to you, I won't stop you. And everybody says they're gonna. So if a bunch of money has gotten donated, that's why. And if nothing has gotten donated, it's because all your, quote, fans, unquote, are lying, rotten, no good rat bastards. And it's like, okay, there was $1,400 Canadian donated this month. Now, it was at Service Download, of which 571 is the Patreon money in U.S. dollars. I get $571 a month from my Patreon supporters, and thank you, Patreon supporters, to keep me working on Strange Death of Alex Raymond. But there would be no way of telling without bothering Eddie Kana, who's in British Columbia, so he's incredibly soggy right now because it's still raining in British Columbia. It's turning into British dystopia. We're hoping that that's coming to an end. It's supposed to be a series of storms at the end of November, and then it was going to be over. But that would require Eddie having to go back and find out, okay, who paid for a download of one of the graphic novels and who just donated. We could do that. I would say 1,400 Canadian is definitely a high-end service downloads amount for a month. Usually it's 1,000, 1,100, almost completely predictable that it wouldn't be more of that. And how much of it counts? I mean, it counts in the sense that the 2 pages that you've reproduced there, where I'm talking about Stan Drake saying that Ward Green conned Margaret Mitchell into writing a serial strip for King Feature Syndicate. And that's all I had to go on was the interview that Shel Dorf did with Stan Drake that was in Comics Interview. And that was when I went to the library and went, okay, let's just get the basic fact on that. When did Margaret Mitchell write this soap opera for King Feature Syndicate? And, have they got anything on it in books about her? And they had the 3 primary biographies of Margaret Mitchell, and checked the indexes in all of those. No King Feature Syndicate, no Ward Green. Actually, one of the books had a reference to Ward Green in the preface, as being in the preface, and I read the preface all the way through. There's no Ward Green in here, so it's like, okay, this is as soon as you try to solve a Strange Death of Alex Raymond mystery, you get 4 more Strange Death of Alex Raymond mysteries. The 2 pages that you've reproduced, I went and looked at my copy of Strange Death of Alex Raymond, the close to finished version, and basically those 2 pages are now about issues 174 to 200. And that's really when my wrist gave out. And I suspect that one of the reasons that my wrist gave out was, okay, if you're going to do this, you're going to take the 2 pages that you had done in Glamourpuss and turn them into 20 pages in Strange Death of Alex Raymond. There's no way you're going to be able to draw this. So, in the interest of optimizing the possibility of Dave Sim finishing Strange Death of Alex Raymond, we're going to have to disable his wrist so that he can't draw. And we hope that he figures it out. And it's like, to a degree, yes, I have figured it out. I'm still adding stuff in to the narrative, but I'm trying to be really, really selective about what I add in. Stay on the point. Don't go into lengthy digressions. And I am getting better at that. The backstop is the fact that Eddie's got all of the annotations online. It's not as if research material that I had that I didn't have room for in a comics narrative is now lost to posterity. If you get addicted to this story, Eddie's got, and this is one of the reasons that I think it's raining so much in British Columbia, is if you're looking for a short form way of understanding Strange Death of Alex Raymond, reading the book and then going to Eddie's online annotation isn't going to take you there. It's just going to take you deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole.
Well, that was when I got to Charlie Sim, the first page. I went, "That's kind of weird, but all right." And then I took a picture, put it on the Service Facebook group, going, "Does anybody else have this in their copy? Like, is this another misprint thing? Did the printer screw up somehow? Were the files corrupted? You know, is this a mistake?" And then I got a couple pages further down, and he's all over the page. And I went, "Oh, okay, no, this was a stylistic choice."
Yes.
And then,
sorry, go ahead.
And then, because, you know, I'm hooked up to the internet, I typed in Margaret Mitchell, Ward Green into Google, and one of the first 3 links was a PDF of a book written by a woman and it's all about the love affair of Margaret Mitchell and John Marsh and their whirlwind romance and their life together and all this. And I went, I bet you Dave's read this, but it says Ward Green's in it. So I clicked the link and it downloaded the PDF of the book to my computer, and I'm like, okay. And I searched through the book, you know, using the find function, and Ward Green shows up on one page in a list of other literary characters that existed in Atlanta at the time. And I'm like, okay, having read Glamourpuss and The Strange Death of Alex Raymond up to this point, Ward Green probably should be on more than one page of this book.
Yeah, that's one of those. If somebody writes a major book about Wendy and Richard Feeney and ElfQuest, Dave Sim is probably going to show up in a footnote on one of the pages. Whereas if somebody wrote a book about Dave Sim and Cerebus, I'm pretty sure that ElfQuest would probably get several pages. So that's one of those. Go ahead.
There's this mountain of Margaret Mitchell, and how much of the mountain are you going to shove into a book before you go, I'm at 400 pages, and that's what gets me paid.
Right.
And,
or you're not that thorough about it. I mean, there's the one biography that's really rather good, and then there's the other 2 that are very, very enthusiastic, but not scrupulously researched.
Well, and then the next link I found was to the University of Georgia's Margaret Mitchell archives, and I went, oh, okay, and then I I'm like, well, Ward Green's listed, but where's the material? And oh no, this is the form you fill out online to submit to have the researchers copy everything and send it to you, and you have to pay for it. And I'm like, well, I can do that. I got some extra money, and I got as far as and you have to click, you have to agree to our terms and conditions. And I started reading the terms and conditions. And I went, this is the most draconian thing I've ever read. And now I know why Charlie Sim is in the book.
That's what it is. It's I don't think it's sustainable. But Margaret Mitchell was an obsessive about rights, because she got herself a good tanning from staging a play in her living room while her parents were away with her friends. And her father was a lawyer. And do you realize that this is illegal for you to perform a play that you haven't paid the playwright to stage? And this was a primary trauma for her, and everything became obsessive rights, which is why pretty much everything that isn't Gone with the Wind, if she got her hands on it, she destroyed it. And her brother, Stevens, who inherited all of her material, gave zero permission to anybody to reproduce anything having to do with Margaret Mitchell, because that's the way Margaret would have wanted it. The cracks in that facade are becoming huge, but it's still at the point where a law firm is getting paid, an annual retainer out of the Gone with the Wind earnings to crush anyone like an insect who dares to do anything with Gone with the Wind that they don't approve, which is why you ended up with a really bad sequel, and why you end up with nothing but absolutely 100% Margaret Mitchell positive content being approved.
Yeah, being approved, but there is also The Wind Done Gone, which they tried to sue and they lost because it's covered under parody and fair use.
Right.
Which
fair use is expanding at the same time that they're trying to contract fair use, that there is no such thing unless the designated lawyer tells you it's okay, you are breaking the law, and you will have to endure the full consequences of the law. It's like it's 2021. It's not 1940 anymore. You're not going to get away with that stuff. But it's like I can just talk about Margaret Mitchell without actually quoting Margaret Mitchell. Once I realized, okay, that's the problem. Okay, well, I can't not talk about Margaret Mitchell because Stan Drake brought her up as the person who created The Heart of Juliet Jones. And, okay, Stan Drake was in the passenger seat when Alex Raymond died. So this is relevant, or at least potentially relevant information. I'm not trying to steal Margaret Mitchell's property from the lawyers who have inherited it. I'm just trying to say, okay, did she write Heart of Juliet Jones? And it's like, I think she did, but I think this is the only way that the story adds up. And I have to explain why it is that I came to that conclusion. It's like, I definitely have read far more about Margaret Mitchell than I would ever have been inclined to, including Gone with the Wind itself and her collected letters and the Margaret Mitchell Encyclopedia. It's like, believe me, I would have been completely happy to never heard the name Margaret Mitchell apart from in passing for the rest of my life if Stan Drake hadn't brought this up in a 1984 interview.
Well, and the spoiler alert for the people that haven't finished reading The Strange Death of Alex Raymond
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
There's still a couple of them, but the inference I take from the graphic novel I've read, based off of the research Dave's done, is that if Margaret Mitchell was involved in the heart of Julia Jones, it's because Ward Green, either genuinely out of concern for her or seeing an opportunity and being a skeevy little jerk, kind of sort of blackmailed her because her ex-husband, once she got famous, supposedly was going to write a book about my life with Margaret Mitchell, and the fact that she was deathly afraid of that man, as evidenced by the fact that she slept with a gun on the nightstand, and after he committed suicide, someone noticed the gun disappeared. So Ward Green, getting a copy of the manuscript or hearing about the possibility of this manuscript, contacted Margaret Mitchell and said, hey, I'll do you a solid and keep this from getting printed because I'm part of the Hearst organization and, Charles Foster Kane runs the world. And in return, could you maybe come up with a pitch for a comic strip? Then we'll give you money and you'll get more, you'll supplement your income and it'll be all above board. And I'm assuming that the research shows, because Charlie Sim won't let us see it, because Charlie Sim doesn't want to get Dave Sim sued. And a lawsuit would come. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it would. I mean, it's the same experience that we're having with Disney and Marvel and DC on Cerebus and L with a question mark. People have different priorities now. The idea of suing somebody for unfair use of copyrighted material, that ship done sailed. We're in the internet age now where, no, if I'm interested in this, I want to know more about this, and I'm not really interested in what you as a lawyer want me to be allowed to read. It's and I can't imagine in our totally woke time period that there's exactly millions and millions of dollars flying into the Margaret Mitchell account anymore. It's like people are getting far, far more ambivalent about Gone with the Wind with every passing year and every passing day. And I'm sure you could, if you really want to read Gone with the Wind, you can download it on Kindle or whatever for nickels and dimes. What that means, that's all that the Mitchell estate is getting, as opposed to the 50 years prior to the internet when, Gone with the Wind was a license to print money. Like every year, it sold X number of copies. More in some years than in other years. But, it's its own mystical kind of entity. Part of what Ward Green was attracted to it by was the fact that it made the world sympathetic to the Confederacy and, to the cause of the South, which it did. I mean, if you watch the Gone with the Wind movie and you realize how obsessive so many women are to this day.
My sister-in-law.
What's that?
My sister-in-law is a giant Gone with the Wind fan. For the past few years,
over the place. Yeah.
For the past few years, Paula's sister, for around Christmas, will go to Hallmark and they have the latest Gone with the Wind movie tie-in ornament, and Paula will buy it for her sister because her sister really likes Gone with the Wind. And I'm like, are you sure she really likes? Oh yeah, she loves Gone with the Wind. I've never seen her watch Gone with the Wind. Are you sure she likes Gone with the Wind? Oh yeah, she loves Gone with the Wind. And I'm like,
yeah.
It's one of those, if she really liked it, I think that we would have seen it at her house at least once.
Right.
Hey, we're not doing anything. Let's watch this long movie that came out in the 40s that everybody loved. I'll be like, I probably have seen it when I was a kid, and all I know about Gone with the Wind is that at one point Scarlett makes a dress out of the drapes because she doesn't have enough money to buy a new dress, and Carol Burnett famously and fabulously parodied that scene, and that's what I remember.
Right. I've seen Gone with the Wind, and I retained so little of it that it's like, okay, I'm obviously not the target audience for this. Colleen Doran was, and I assume still is, one of the world's biggest Gone with the Wind fans. I hate to simplify it to Scarlett O'Hara wannabes. It's like Margaret Mitchell was appalled by the number of women who saw Scarlett O'Hara as a role model. It's like, she's not a role model. She's the most loathsome person who's ever existed on the face of the earth. It's Margaret Mitchell being cold-bloodedly critical of herself and fictionalizing herself. And it's like, all anybody cares about is, do they get back together? It's like, get back together? The guy raped her. It's like, yeah, I know, I love that scene. It's like, what do you mean you love that scene? Are you insane? But that's right at the end of my section on Margaret Mitchell in The Strange Death of Alex Raymond. One of the digressions that I had to get to. But the larger point is, there's not tons of money coming in on Gone with the Wind anymore. They're trying to figure out, I mean, if they've got Christmas decorations with Gone with the Wind themes on them, they're going, maybe this is someplace that we can make some money.
Well,
it's like,
the question would be, how much of the movie does the Mitchell estate get royalties on, and how much of it is the studio that made the movie going, hey, we own this in perpetuity and we can do whatever we want to it, and Margaret Mitchell's dead, so it's not like she can sue us, and the contract probably very much was, we're giving you money to adapt the book, and once it's adapted, it's ours.
Right. I mean, that's standard operating procedure. There's probably a percentage just to keep the Mitchell estate happy and keep the legion of Margaret Mitchell fans from storming the barricades of whoever owns the movie now. I don't know if Turner Broadcasting owns it, or who it is that ended up owning the Gone with the Wind movie. But yes, it's not making exactly a fortune either. It's like the people who like that sort of thing really, really like that sort of thing. But it was the end of an era. You know, the movie was 1939, the book was 1936, and defenses of slavery and defenses of the Confederacy were really coming to an end even at that point. This was a kind of last hurrah, which I'm just getting to that part now where Ward Green is... Joe Connolly has died, so Ward Green's the new general manager of King Features Syndicate. And with all of his occult links and stuff like that, he definitely had this comic art metaphysics, all good things comes to you who waits. And one of the first things on his desk is Disney is doing Song of the South, and King Features Syndicate is going to do a comic strip adaptation of Song of the South, Uncle Remus and the Brer Rabbit stories. And you can just see newly minted general manager and unrepentant Confederate Ward Green licking his chops at this Song of the South adaptation. So instead of what they did with Snow White, which was just to do a series of comic strips adapting the Snow White cartoon, he starts a year ahead of time. It's like, Disney's telling him, okay, Song of the South is coming out in 1946. It's like, well, we're going to start in 1945, and we're going to do Uncle Remus, and we're going to do genuine Southern voices. And this isn't just going to adapt the film. This is going to be carved in stone at King Features Syndicate as a comic strip that we stand behind. It actually lasted until 1972, the Uncle Remus comic strip. That's Ward Green's comic art metaphysics in action. Okay, we're coming up on 2 hours, so I think, have you got anything more to add there, or?
Other than, apparently I'm getting pulled into Weird Dave's comic art metaphysics. My aunt collects little golden books.
Right.
And she's the oldest of my mom's siblings, and so she, has a couple hundred little golden books, and it's all pre-barcode. Any little golden book that didn't have a barcode printed on it is what she's after, because those are the older books that actually have value. And so she was, I guess, buying online auctions of kids' books or going to rummage sales and buying boxes of kids' books, looking for stuff she collected. And she's got to be in her 80s now, and her kids have flat out, she's got 5 kids, and all 5 said, we do not want any of the little golden books. This is your obsession, not ours. When you die, we are going to get rid of all of them. And because, she's, I'm not going to say end of life, but she's closer to the end than the beginning, so she's, hey, you guys don't want this stuff, I will offload it to family members that do, and I have 2 little kids, so she came to visit my mom and brought 2 boxes of little golden books, and I was at my mom's house, and she's like, oh yeah, Susie brought these, and we're looking through the boxes of books, and one of them is a 1951 adaptation of Song of the South, the Briar Rabbit stories as a kid's book, and I'm like, we're taking that, and Paul's like, well, I'm like, that's worth money.
How about that?
And the other book that's in the stack that when because Paula was the one looking through them, she held it up and I went, yeah, we're taking that for definite too, was Bugs Bunny and the Indians. And I'm like, yeah.
That's sick.
I'm like, yeah, no, that's another one. That's very, very much Mulberry Street and has been canceled, so yep, we'll take that, because when Mulberry Street got quote-unquote banned, the half-price bookstore pulled all their copies out of the children's section, and now they're in the rare books section.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they said you can't buy it anymore, oh, well, this copy that was $2 last week is now $50 because you can't buy it anymore.
Right. It's the same thing as if you try to eliminate fossil fuels, all you do is drive the price up and make it more lucrative for OPEC to sell their fossil fuel to you, good-hearted, green-minded people at much higher prices than you'd be paying if you just mined it domestically and cared about mitigating the damage of fracking and whatnot. I don't think the Russians are really too concerned about the harmful effects of fracking. They're more interested in having Germany by the short curlies, which they now have. We all need to pray for a nice, warm winter in Germany, because if it's a cold one, oh boy, is that going to be a Cold War mess?
Again.
Okay, I guess that will do it for Please Hold for Dave's Hymn for December 2021.
Yes, other than the secret message from Little Orphan Aardvark herself, but I record that after we're done talking.
Okay, that's good. That's all right. Everybody get your decoder wheels out, and don't forget to finish your Ovaltine tonight.
Yes. The best part is I'm not 100% sure what this message is because I typed it out and I don't have the original English. I just have the code.
Oh, okay. Well, you get your decoder ring out as well, and get Paula to get hers out, and it's probably got something to do with Bugs Bunny and the Indians.
Oh, that book! I haven't even looked at that book. That book's probably gonna be so offensive.
Oh, yeah, but it's it's of its time period. You got to be very careful because you're mortgaging your own culture. Where if you let them do it now, okay, everything that you think should be preserved for posterity. No, we eliminated that in 2050 because the right thinking people just wouldn't allow that to exist anymore. And everything's going to be laundered down to the level of Little Golden Book.
I'm trying to remember what the quote is, or where the quote's from. One of George Carlin's books, I think the first one, the preface is a quote from, I forget who. The book, I think, is the Song of Stone and Sand, but I could be wrong on that. But the quote is, "We won't have meaningful communication until we can boil all words down, or all communication down to 7 words." And if you know George Carlin,
there's a specific 7 words that you can't say on television, and you can still say on the internet.
Yeah, but it's one of those. Because it ties into the 1984. We're going to cancel everything, and get the dictionary down to 100 words, and we'll completely the double speak is going to be so great, and I understand that yes, the Chinaman in Mulberry Street could be considered offensive to Chinamen, but at the same time, that book was written in what year? It's if you put it in the cultural context of at the time, yes. I mean, it's a horribly racist depiction today. At the time, it was fine. And, yep, okay, we at the Seuss Estate apologize to anyone of Asian descent who is upset by this, but at the same time, Theodore Geisel's dead. It's not like he's going to make another book where the little boy that eats with sticks is going to go off on a fun adventure and ruin the world for people. Like, it's not like there's a new Seuss book coming out next month.
Yeah, I really have trouble with all of that stuff because it's like, well, Chinamen do eat with sticks. I mean, that's and at least at some period in time, they looked like that. Because otherwise he wouldn't have drawn them like that. Something can be offensive, but it can also be iconic at the same time. You can't arbitrate. Okay, this is iconic and this is offensive. The more absolutist you get about these things, the more ridiculous you make yourself. It's the same as. Isn't the hit play Hamilton cultural appropriation? None of those people were black. What are black people doing playing these really famous,
really white,
iconic pioneers of freedom as an absolute? It's like I would never try and cause grief about it because it's ridiculous to score brownie points off of completely misapprehended viewpoints in the first place. But it's like, can we just retire this whole cultural appropriation thing and just say, as long as Hamilton exists and as long as they're selling tickets to it, there's no such thing as cultural misappropriation. Just go F yourself. I have no interest in talking to you if you want to say you're not allowed to use this as a raw material. Like, who died and left you, King? Okay, that'll do it for now, Matt. So best wishes to Paula and Janice pearl.
The last thing I want to say about that is, if anybody else really wants to hear more from Dave about cultural misappropriation, pick up Kurtz versus Kurtz in 2022 from Aardvark Anaheim.
Yes.
See,
I'm really happy with that. It's trouble on a stick, but
it's not shameless self-promotion if you can frame it right.
yes. And you said it. I did. Okay.
All right.
Have a good night, Matt.
You too, Dave. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, everyone who's in the Little Orphan Annie Secret Society, it is time, once again, at the end of Please Hold for Dave Sim, for the secret message to the members of the Secret Society. Set your decoder wheels to 1 = 1. Are you ready? Aardvark's counting on you. L, M, Z, Z, yin yang, P, V, L, infinity, space, D, E, skull and bones, Q, D, space, D, Taurus, E, Taurus, Q, Taurus, infinity, Taurus, space, A, Z, A, X, Z, M, infinity, Taurus, space, D, P, yin yang, Z, space, E, M, S, hashtag, Q, V, space, Q, Q, M, F, heart, Q, M, copyright, space. Gotta write shorter messages. V, Z, Z, F, infinity, space, skull and bones, E, spade, Virgo, space, Sagittarius, yin yang, E, space, L, Z, yin yang, space, Q, space, V, Z, club, space, M, E, D, D, space, E, T, space, yin yang, E, P, D, Z, yin yang, space, S, Q, S, Z, M, space, T, E, M, space, hashtag, Z, M, Taurus, Capricorn. Remember, Aardvark's counting on you. And last month, I think we tied this into the contest to get the 1013 Service Aardvark Short Sword and Flames cover, and everybody that was members of the Secret Society that sent in the correct translation got a point or something. It's been a long month. So we'll go 3 points if you can remind me what I said last month. 1 point if you translate and you don't. And 5 points if you're not a member of the Secret Society, but you send an email to momentofservice@gmail.com saying, screw you and your circle. That little Asian kid in Mulberry Street is a racist. So anybody sends that gets 5 points. And maybe next month I'll figure out how the contest is going to work and who can win. All right, last one out. Turn off the lights. Don't take any wooden nickels. Matt Dow, out.